Yeah.
My name is Isaac Belden. I am the founder and CEO of the Veteran Entrepreneur Alliance. And today, on our very first live stream, we're talking with Chrissy Larsen, who does a lot of things, but the most recent venture is she is the co-founder over at Reputyz. And today we're going to be talking a lot about what she does, but also about community. And right before we went live, Chrissy was talking just a little bit about the fact that that's something that just about everybody can connect over, right? Community is so important to all of us. So I wanted to start just by, for anybody that doesn't know what the Veteran Entrepreneur Alliance is, we are a nonprofit that is focused on serving the veteran community through education, collaboration, community building, and really just connection. It was my first taste of entrepreneurship is what really led me to want to start this organization, is because entrepreneurship, and at the time it was actually intrapreneurship that led me to entrepreneurship, that gave me back something that I hadn't really realized that I had lost. And that is kind of a sense of purpose and a sense of mission and feeling like I had something meaningful to work for. So a harebrained scheme came up one day that I thought that there's probably other veterans. As much as I'd like to think I'm unique and special, there are a lot of veterans that are just like me that have kind of lost their way too, right? And for some of them, for a large number of them, potentially entrepreneurship's the way to get that back. So enough about that. I'd really like to jump in to the deep end with Chrissy and talk a little bit more about what she's got going on, and probably wrap it up with what we're looking at doing together potentially.
Yeah. Well, honestly, we could start with what we're doing together because it's such a big part of community and entrepreneurship. We met through LinkedIn community. Man, did we meet in like 2018 or 2017, somewhere back in there?
Maybe even before that. It might have been like 2016.
Yeah. And we just developed this friendship, but we've been talking for years about creating an education system for entrepreneurs, specifically for the vets, so that individuals could have the tools and resources, that we could provide the tools and resources for vets to have that support network and to be able to build that community easily. And so we have finally done that, which is really exciting. Let's say 2018, because then it only took us, us.
Yeah, that sounds better. I like that
Yeah.
better. So we'll figure that out in post, right?
Yeah. But what we're offering, and I'm working in sync with a couple other companies, but we have built a give back program. So I've been building education portals since 2015 around entrepreneurial systems. And so we recently just launched Reputyz, and we have partnered with a bunch of different foundations to offer a give back program. And the give back program is a one-to-one free license for our education portal, a lifetime membership, so that anyone can come in and learn everything about the framework of building a business, how to build and attract community, how to find that support network, how to market themselves and become an influential force in their area of expertise. And so that's really what we are providing for individuals. And that's why we're on here today, because a lot of people, I mean, you've seen it in the headlines, a lot of people have recently been laid off or have lost their jobs or going through large life changes with the economy the way it is. And we really need to lean into one another, lean into that community support, be there for individuals who are going through tough times. I mean, vets have always had a high suicide rate, but now it's, children, 13 to 15 have a high suicide rate. And so I think that having a strong community development and support network for individuals that are going through hard times is really something that we're going to try to provide.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up. I'm sad that it's something that has to be brought up. But the suicide rate, I mean, the VEA isn't a suicide prevention organization per se, right? But we do believe that the work that we're doing and the work that we do with our partners could hopefully have a positive impact, because the numbers are even scarier than what they say a lot of times. For decades, they've said 22 veterans a day we lose, and there's been even more recent research that's saying that number could be twice that, with overdoses and things like that. So it's incredible to me, just how bad things have gotten, and I think that in a lot of ways, we have forgotten how to communicate with one another, right? And reach out and try to be that voice or that shoulder or that sounding board when somebody needs it. So I love everything about community building, everything about reaching out and trying to help one another. What they say about rising tides, right? All of us, I believe, we have a responsibility to each other to try and not just better things for us, but better things for each other.
I agree. I think that I was watching, I just recently wrote a post about community, and I was watching the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, and one of the schools was in there, and the announcer was talking about they put 130 hours into practicing in order to perform there. You think about the commitment that takes, and the little community that they're in, their little dance community, of what they have built. But that's outside of their normal scholastic, lives, and what it's an extracurricular community that they have opted into. And so my post was talking about, when is the last time that you put 130 hours of practice into building community and doing something repeatedly in order to better yourself and put yourself out there? And imagine what would happen if we did that. And spending the last year in working with the DEI company, I interviewed hundreds of individuals. And the question was, when we were interviewing them, when we were building these programs, is what do you feel is the biggest problem with, inclusion and community within it? And a lot of it was, there wasn't a community. They didn't feel an inclusive community. And what I realized as I kind of dove in to talk to these individuals is, by the time we're adults, we have experienced failure multiple times. We have experienced rejection multiple times. And in my opinion, it's a huge conundrum for individuals that are building DEI programs, because you may have hundreds or thousands of people in an organization that all have different insecurities and levels of trauma associated with rejection and failure, right? And they
Right.
have to overcome that in order to personally opt in to being a part of that culture, that community, right? Which is the same thing with what we're asking everyone to do, to opt in to building a community, putting themselves out there, and stepping outside of their comfort zone, their immediate family or immediate, security blanket of what they're having. But a lot of people, when I talk to them or interviewed, were having issues of not being where they want to be, based on the fact that, once again, this is my opinion, they were holding themselves back. I'm not blaming people. Like, they were holding themselves back from being successful because they were too afraid to put themselves out there. They were too afraid to build that community, make the first step, make new friends, open themselves up to new opportunities, because in their head, they already say, well, this person could reject me, or I could fail at this. And I think that that happens a lot, probably from the conversations you and I have had with veterans trying to switch into becoming, moving from being in the military to civilian lifestyle, and having to use those skills and become an entrepreneur or join a different style of organization. It's you can bridge that gap, and I'll let you talk about this right now, but I feel that those are a lot of the reservations of have, these are issues that we need to deal with in ourselves, and that these are the tools that we're trying to develop, is how do we overcome the mindset that the failure mindset, or the lack mindset, or that we can't do something mindset, so we don't even try, type of a thing.
Yeah. So, and obviously most everything I talk about is in the vein of the veteran community. So, so I definitely, I saw this in my own journey, and I've seen it in many other veterans' journeys. And we come out of the military, and we're used to having this brotherhood, right? This very tight-knit community around you. Like, you're quite literally, you're told when to be somewhere, how to be there, why to be there, what you're going to be wearing, what you're going to be eating, right? So you come out of it and you're like, all right, I'm on my own. And then it's almost like a pride thing, right? Where you don't want to admit that you don't know what you don't know, but how are you ever going to know it unless you're willing to be vulnerable enough to say, hey, like, I don't have this. I know I can tackle it. I know that I can achieve what I'm going for, but I need a little bit of help. And I think that sometimes kind of the mindset that we have driven into us in the military is that drink water, rub dirt on it, drive on kind of mentality, where it's just like, well, if you're, what do they say? They say, if you're going to be dumb, you got to be tough. And if you're coming out of the military, like, and you don't necessarily have the skill set very specific to starting a business, right? Then, in some ways, you're kind of dumb in that world, right? So you're like, well, I'm going to get through it just by being tough. I'm just going to tough through it. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to grind through it. Well, I'm here to tell you that's some of the way that I did it, right? I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't necessarily always ask for help. But I can also tell you that there's an easier way, just working with the VEA. I mean, there are a lot of people and organizations out there that want to provide the assistance that you need. Some of it's paid, right? But you get what you pay for. And then, like, there are organizations like us that we're willing to offer you our services 100% for free. But regardless of how you get the help is there, and nobody's going to think less of you for going out and finding it and asking for it. And one last thing, a friend of mine who runs an organization called Veteran, and their motto is something like building better veterans. I was watching a live that he did a while back where he talked about kind of that coming out of the military and thinking, things are just going to fall into place because I'm a veteran, right? Like, it's all just going to come together. People are going to appreciate me for my service, and it's going to be cake. And he talks about how that mentality is actually holding us back as veterans in a lot of ways, because veteran isn't who you are. Veteran is something that you achieved. It's something that you accomplished. The hard work, the determination, the stick-to-itness, that's who you are. You are the sum and total of all of the grit that it took to be able to call yourself a veteran. So that's what we need to focus on. And that's what we need to think about when we're trying to go into these situations and these new chapters of our lives.
I think that is also for a lot of entrepreneurs too that aren't veterans but individuals, is you see other people and you're comparing yourselves to other individuals that have already put blood, sweat, and tears, and you're wanting to start at a Z level and you're still at A. And so you're comparing yourself, and you have to take baby steps into what you're doing, and you're comparing yourself to those other individuals. So once again, you don't really try, or in your head, the language that you're saying, the reels that are going over and over in your head is the fact that you're not where you want to be. You're not successful enough. You are a failure. So you don't put those, back to the 130 hours. You don't put 130 hours of trying and failing over and over and over time. Those dancers, that routine, that was one singular routine, one task that they practiced for 130 hours until they were all experts and could dance in sync and walk through the whole Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade. And that's what that's why I pointed that out. That was a singular task that they perfected, and it took them 130 hours to perfect. So think of all of the accumulations of nuances it takes to become an entrepreneur, to launch a business, to become great at it. If you're thinking about it as practicing one of those individual skill sets, and for 130 hours to be that good, maybe then you'll kind of give yourself a break and you won't be so scared in order to get started and do the hard things. Because I think that a lot of what holds us back is fear. And, we need to overcome that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's and it's hard, right? Like none of this is easy. Nobody wants to admit a shortcoming, but you'll be so much better
hard,
for
but
it.
the support, I had put home is where the heart is, but community is where the support is. And I'm not saying that home doesn't support you, but home, say your significant other, may not be an entrepreneur. They may not be a vet, right? So they may not have the same life experience or goals, ambitions. So putting yourself into these niche environments, these niche communities of support, is how you're going to excel. Surrounding yourselves with others that inspire you and support you and get you. That's the importance of reaching out and nurturing and building a community. And that's why I love teaching people how to build these communities, because it is so important. I specialize in teaching people to build LinkedIn communities specifically because they're professional networking platforms, and it's such an easy way for individuals to find those exact people that they're looking for. You can search under different hashtags, under different titles, and you can reach out. And most people, and if you reach out without just pitching them, are going to be open to having a conversation with you. I mean, that's exactly how we met. We started having a conversation, met for coffee, and we've been friends for 5 or 8 years now.
5 or 8.
And so those are the conversations that, just because you meet people in the digital realm doesn't mean that those can't turn into in real life, relationships. They do. But it takes two people. It takes you being willing to put yourself out there in order to build that network, to build that community, to build that support, to find your people, essentially.
Well, and I like that you talked about, pitching, right? There are so many, I get connection requests every single day that within the first, 3 or 4 sentences, it's like, sign up for my this, or like, this is how I can help you do that. And those are not relationships or connections that that we as entrepreneurs, that we really have the time to be wading through, right? So having a different approach to that, or getting messages from people that truly are showing interest in what you're doing, right? Asking questions, like, who genuinely feel like they actually want to get to know you, that goes so much further. And putting in the first few sentences that I'm not trying to sell you anything, that doesn't count as the same thing. That just means you don't want to admit you're trying to sell me anything yet.
I think that it's shifted. It's really difficult to just slide into someone's DMs now, you know, how the kids say it. And just start a conversation if you're not putting yourself out there in the newsfeed. Now, most people, we're streaming on Facebook right now too. So most people on Facebook are used to putting themselves out there, sharing about themselves, their personal lives and stuff. Instagram, used to sharing pictures, but when it comes to LinkedIn, sharing who you are and feeling comfortable about sharing who you are professionally, creating that personal brand story and that professional brand story, and telling about your experiences. Now, if you have put yourself out there, if someone, you know, slides into your DMs and then you go look at who they are and they are active and open and vulnerable, then you're going to feel a lot more comfortable having that conversation because they've already told you who they are. They're in control of their own narrative, right? And that's really important, is to be in control of your own narrative. So posting on a regular basis, putting yourself out there. I did a post a couple days ago that we were talking about. It's not cheating on your job if you're building a network of support, because once again, people get laid off. The economy sucks. We just experienced COVID. Hundreds of thousands of people lost their jobs overnight, unexpected. That came out of nowhere, right? So if you have a network in order to lean into, if you haven't built a savings when you retire, then you're working at Walmart as a greeter, right? And so, I'm not trying to be mean I love greeters at Walmart. Okay, I'm not trying to say something, but they're there because I don't want to offend anyone. But what I'm saying is, if you don't have a backup plan, then you are, you're stuck with what happens at that point. And so there's a lot of people that they get laid off, or they come out of the military and they have zero backup plan. They don't know what to do. And I think that that's where you and I are trying to come in, is we can show people how to build that backup plan. We can show people how to build that community, and we can show people that there are support networks out there waiting for you, but you have to join. You have to raise your hand and say, I want to become a part of this, and I'm going to be present, and I'm going to be consistent, and I am going to show up for, not just for myself, but I'm going to show up and be a part and support everyone else, because you can't just show up and take. And that's where, when someone drops into your DM and they just sell to you, they're just asking to take. They're not asking to give something back. And I think that that's what we have to do. We have to give of yourself and show people who you are and what you offer.
Yeah, and you were talking about like, if you're not planning, right? It always makes me think of the saying, failing to plan is planning to fail. Now, it's not universally true, right? But you are not, if you don't do the proper planning, you're not unique when you fail. You would be unique when you just happen to get lucky and like strike a gold mine, right? Like, most people can't just fly by the seat of their pants and they're like, okay, on to the next thing. And then they land in the next thing and it works. You are going to be in the majority if you fail. And it sucks to hear in a way, but also I feel like a lot of us need to hear that, because it's okay.
I failed a million times and not had a backup plan. I didn't start preaching this because I was like, hey, this sounds like a good idea to teach people. No, I've fallen flat on my face without a backup plan a million times. I was a born entrepreneur, and I apparently only learn how to do things the hard way, like smash into the wall hard way on my face. That is how I learn things. And so I'm preaching this to, so it sinks into myself, like, you need to be prepared. You need a network. You need to put yourself out there. Like, I'm coaching myself as I go along.
Well, and believe, like, believe people when they try to give you the guidance, because either they've been there or maybe they're on the outside looking in. And like, I owe a lot of my ability to do what I've done so far, I owe it to my wife looking at me and saying, why are you afraid of networking? Like, people generally like you, so I don't understand why you would be nervous about it. Go and give it a shot. And now I love it. I absolutely love it. But I was just so in my head, like, nobody's gonna relate to what I'm doing. Nobody's gonna, but we are our own worst enemies when it comes to neglecting the things we need in order to move forward and advance.
100%. And it is nice, surrounding yourself, like you've surrounded yourself with a supportive spouse and friends, you know what I mean? Like it just starts to amplify from that. And as you put that out there, that's what you want, you start to attract it in all areas of your life. And we've had that conversation before, is the energy you put out is the energy you attract back. And so if you are unhappy in your personal relationships, maybe the energy you're putting out is attracting back what you don't want, the negativity, and this happens a lot. This kind of back to the DEI is everyone that I interviewed that was having a major negative, kind of stuff, is their energy when I talked to them was very negative, right? The moment I talked to them, the energy would change and shift in the room, and I could feel the negativity coming from them. I had posted a couple days ago. Now, obviously, I put a lot of my own opinions out there, but so human, I'm opinionated, I guess, is jobs. Employers, they don't want to hire a wounded liability. Now, obviously, in DEI where I was working, they can't tell you that, but everyone that they had me interview, and they're like, well, what do you think about this situation? Because I was an outside contractor, I could have a different opinion, right? I didn't work for the corporation or the organization, so I wasn't held under, kind of their internal bylaws. Everyone that they were having issues with is because they were a wounded liability and they were projecting that out. And so I spent a lot of time the last couple of weeks interviewing and helping people to use LinkedIn to find employment. And I remind them, yes, you are in a deficit place right now, but remember, if you're doing and you're going to all of these interviews, make sure that you put your best foot forward. Don't let them see you cry, type of a thing. And I know that is not something, like with the woke generation, they're like, no, let everyone see you cry, but not in an interview. There's other times you can let people see you cry. As much as we want to say, like, support my mental health, and I do. I'm telling you, the reason I'm telling you this is I'm trying to help you support your mental health. I'm not supporting mental health. I'm a huge advocate of mental health. I spent 15 years in proactive wellness, working with people and their mental health. Like, I'm a huge advocate of it. But emotional intelligence is how we get to good mental health. You know what I mean? And so I'm trying to come at it from an emotional intelligence side. Be emotionally intelligent. Go in there with your best foot forward. Don't let them see you cry. Show them how great you are when it's your best day. You know what I mean? If you walk out, you cry in the bathroom, that's fine, but put your best foot forward out there. And you're going to start to attract the positivity that brings to the table.
Yeah, I love that.
So opinionated, I know, I'm sorry.
Well, we're coming up on our 30-minute mark. We're going to overshoot it just a little bit. But just to kind of wrap things up, I want to hear a little bit, just briefly, specifically about Reputyz. I know you guys have a challenge going on. Kicks off, I believe, on Monday.
Yeah, very excited about our challenge.
I'd love to hear a little bit about that, and then yeah.
So it's kind of exactly what I'm talking about. The challenge is 30 days of putting yourself out there. It's kind of that whole mentality of what would happen. What could you change in your life if for 30 days you were proactively leaning into making your life better? And what I mean by that is building that community, creating that narrative about yourself that you control. Like when you are out of the room and when I'm not with you, Isaac, what story, how would you explain who I am to people, right? And so if I have never put myself out there and created a persona that I think that would be memorable to you, it's left to your own interpretation. Does that make sense? And
Yeah.
so I want to build that narrative. I want you to, when you're talking about me, to highlight all of the things that I like about myself and put out there, the things that I have to offer that I'm proud about. And so that's what I'm going to teach people to do, how to put themselves out there, put their best foot forward, how to build that community and create that narrative. So when you walk away from a meeting or a conversation, people are wowed by you. You have left a lasting impression, and the influence you had on people is to refer other individuals to you. Like we had that when we first met. When I met you, I don't even know how many people we started introducing to one another. Like everybody. I was like, you got to meet Isaac. He's fantastic. And so you left such a great impression on me that it created, years and years of friendship. And I think that a lot of people, once again, it's fear. Their fear of that rejection, their fear of failing. And so the 30-day challenge is really all of us coming together to support one another and say, you've got this. You're amazing. I want you to see what I see in you. And I want you to tell me all the great things about you and help people to articulate that and put that out there and reach out and shake hands and nurture that community and that support network that they truly need in order to advance in life and in their career.
I think that's awesome. And I see you, like I do see you, and maybe I'll steal a little of your thunder here. I mean, I see you walking the walk too. I mean, Reputyz and Chrissy in particular, they have offered to help the VEA, right? So they kind of put their money where their mouth is, and so they're going to help support the VEA in trying to kind of tell our story and get things out there. And so I love that they're willing to take kind of their time and their talents to support something that is very near and dear to my heart, right? But so I would encourage all of you to continue to pursue, go and check out Chrissy and everything that she's doing and Reputyz, because I am a big fan of supporting folks that are willing to pay it forward. So I just want to thank you for what you do and for supporting the efforts over here at the Veteran Entrepreneur Alliance. And I look forward to another 5 or 8 or 1,000 years of friendship.
Does that mean we're getting the Elon implants?
Yeah, everybody's gonna be AI. They're just gonna download our consciousness into artificial intelligence being at some point. So it'll be good. But I do want, for anybody watching, I'm going to ask Chrissy if she'll share the links to the challenge and things like that in the comments below. So if you guys want to go and check that out, she's also posted all about it on her social channels. So thank you so much for chatting with me. And I'm sure as the process goes along, maybe we can jump in and talk analytics or something one of these days once we've put some of this talk to action specifically to the VEA too.
Heck yeah. I'm hoping to go live throughout the entire challenge. It's actually going to run for 60 days because first we got to teach people what to do, help them get comfortable, using the resources, choosing their network, all that type of stuff. And then it's just 30 accumulative days of where they have their best, like impressions, connections, feedback and stuff like that. So it's an accumulation of that. So it actually goes to February 5th because half of it is kind of training and getting people to feel comfortable. So
Yeah.
yeah, so we'll be sharing every single day the analytics, the success stories, hopefully all about it.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to it, and enjoy the rest of your Friday. Thank you, everybody that tuned in or that will be watching this in its recorded form. And we'll hopefully be jumping on here more often and getting you guys a lot of really good content from really good people.
Heck yeah. All right. So good to see you. Thanks for having me. Have a wonderful weekend.
See you later.
Bye.